Indeed, we're back to the user acceptance kind of focus, and again, this is a focus more on cars. Why? Because ITS, not in terms of cooperative systems yet, but some telematics will be included in the cars very soon with the eCall, and what we see is that the manufacturers in developing these systems have gone beyond the pure safety function. So they're also proposing infotainment system, they're proposing a number of systems, and for this they're gathering a lot of data. What happens today is that in principle, when you buy your car, you also sign off a contract on which you kind of agree that a certain amount of data will be gathered and processed by the manufacturers, usually to provide you with additional services. That goes way beyond only safety data, that goes up to the fact that they will know your braking pads are about to break, they will propose you maintenance, they will make the appointment for you to their local dealership. There's also a question of competition there. So coming from that angle and representing the motorist, we've tried to kind of simplify and just outline the main basic principles that we think should be respected in all developments, and that's in a video. Maybe we could start with a little video that's just a few minutes, hopefully interesting.
To data and your car, what you didn't know is going on. Your car is about to be connected to the outside world. This video is designed to help clarify access to data with your vehicle. These days, if you have a problem with your car, you contact your service provider and give them the information you have, usually by phone. Vehicles already have the capability to track information on their own. Very soon, they will be able to transmit it over secured networks, for instance, in the event of a breakdown, to ensure a faster, better equipped and more effective response. Imagine accessing real-time traffic information, being alerted to potential vehicle problems in advance, and getting rapid response when something goes wrong. The transmitted data will also help service providers identify the cause of the breakdown. What you may not know, however, is the scope of data that is being tracked and how it is ultimately used. Vehicle manufacturers are developing car technologies to track and transmit a range of information. They control this information flow and can direct maintenance and repairs to selected service providers. When you buy a car, it often includes a clause which approves the transfer of your data to the vehicle manufacturer's proprietary network. As a result, you are not necessarily aware when data is transmitted by your car or how your data is used. You may not be able to opt out when service policies are changed, and if you reject the conditions offered, you risk losing access to all services. You may be solicited for unwanted services. Your repair bills may be higher. Since only vehicle manufacturers have direct access to vehicle data, other service providers must either pay the vehicle manufacturer to access it or develop and market their own independent systems, leading to higher development costs, or they could be entirely excluded from the market. When it comes to vehicle data, the FIA proposes 3 consumer principles to keep you in control. As the owner of your car, legislation should ensure informed consent on access to your car's data, and that you retain ownership of the data it produces and control over how it is used for as long as you own the vehicle. And this should not impact the level of service you can expect to receive. You should have the right to choose and change your service provider and match the right products and level of service to your needs. You should have the right to choose among service providers competing in an open marketplace and to enable any service provider you choose to access your vehicle data and associated functionalities via an open, secure telematics platform. The rush to access car data has already started, but it must ensure that consumers understand what data is being shared and how it is used. There is a choice of validated services from trusted service providers, and there are open, standardized and secure data platforms accessible to multiple service providers. Motorists have the right to fully benefit from their data to improve the driving experience.
So I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Of course, again, this is cars, but the challenges are kind of expected to be quite similar for the power two-wheelers. What we see is that already in the equal debate, which is something that is going to be put into place, we heard several times that it's very easy. It's not that easy. There are delays being taken also on the car side. However, we see that there's quite a sensitivity at the level of the European Parliament on the data protection already on the pure eco system. What we also see is that the range of services being developed actually are not made with a full user's consent, because many of you probably have signed a sales contract. You don't always read the small print, and the contracts are made in such a way that the gathering of data is not very clear to the users. But what we heard, and that's why actually it fits quite well to the whole session, also from the research, when you do a research project, you do ask for the consent from the users, and you probably are the testers yourself. In this case, basically there are cases where you cannot have a GPS on your car unless you actually agree to have these additional services. That happens in certain brands. So this is really a question of how to inform the consumers. The video was really trying to be as simple as possible and something that's a bit more complicated. But if we go to the next slide, the three principles that we are really calling for is indeed data protection, consumers' free choice, and fair competition. And all of that goes together. I mean, the idea of the competition, of course, comes from the fact that the automobile clubs also provide roadside services, roadside assistance. And they see that a number of access to the repair and maintenance data of the car, probably of the power two-wheelers, will be done remotely in the future. And while the European legislation ensures that we get the same access to repair and maintenance information as vehicle manufacturers, we don't get it wirelessly and won't get it wirelessly unless something is done at this stage. So in that case, I think if there's a framework in place for cars, probably for power two-wheelers, you will get the opportunity to get the same type of frameworks, but it's something that we really need to work on, because at the time there's nothing to access, let's say, the maintenance information, the regular wear and tear. And also what was mentioned again, one of the key issues is that today what happens is that the whole data is actually transferred to vehicle manufacturer's server, which are huge because it's a huge amount of information that's being processed. So any kind of competition would mean that the data servers should be as big for other providers as well. And then the next slide, which is actually already the last one, so that was very quick. We're really calling for principal position that we believe the road users should own all data that is gathered by their car. They should get very clear and simple information about what the data is used for, and they should get the possibility to share it with a service provider of their choice and change it over time. I don't know if it's the same issue for power two-wheelers, but a number of vehicles are also sold on the second-hand car market. So what happens if I'm bound to a brand and I sell my vehicle to someone else? I should be able to actually give that person the freedom to choose the services attached to the vehicle and not attach this person onwards to the choice I made. That's really the key principles. I think we touched upon it yesterday, and I'm happy to take any questions. That was it already.